Good evening. Welcome to the Glazov gang. Tonight, the toughest streetwise and most beautiful gang members ever. Tonight, Michael Chandler, a black American patriot. Morgan Brittany, a conservative TV and movie star who played in the iconic television series Dallas. She was Catherine Wentworth, who killed Bobby, but it was just a dream. Ooh. And when I referred to beautiful, it was to Morgan Brittany. And Borek Volarik, a canceled Czech and a militant anti-communist, and also, according to many women, very beautiful.
Love it, yes.
My introductions are getting better.
That's better.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Glazov gang. A few in-house matters first. We tricked our new Glazov gang member. I'm sorry to do this to you, Michael. Morgan or Borek, tell Michael the rule of the Glazov gang that we only tell members once they join.
All right.
What are the rules?
You can check in.
But you
can
can't check out.
But you can never
leave.
Right.
This is like the Eagles then.
That's right.
Right,
Right.
California, right?
No, right. No.
Oh.
But you still listen. This is almost 2 years now. I got to give up on this soon. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. Okay? So you can check out. You can check out.
Welcome to the Hotel California.
Right.
He did sing.
Now,
all right.
We were going to become a little bit more democratic about it, and I was going to add that there might be a democratic vote among other Glazov gang members if somebody really wants to leave. But I've been pressured by my Russian relatives and other Russian forces behind me to keep it a little bit totalitarian. What do you guys think?
I think that's
Totally.
Right. Totally. Absolutely.
Michael, are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I was drafted once before.
Okay. So you're in the Glazov gang forever.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen.
So don't leave. Forget about it.
Forget about it.
You can never leave. Forget about it.
Okay. A Jersey girl.
See, now, you have your Canadian accent, and I can talk like I'm from Long Island. Okay.
I think he was derailed.
Wait. Before we move on, I'm intrigued now. What is that? What accent is that?
Well, I can talk like I'm from Long Island.
That's
Long Island.
No, that's like
Island.
Jersey Shore. That's like
No,
from Jersey.
Jersey, they talk like this.
Well, he's
Okay.
So
Canadian.
you can
Just
go
wait.
to Jersey and you can talk like this.
But he's
Okay, what's the
Canadian.
other one?
And it's Long Island.
Okay, like say
If you
something
live
like...
on Long Island, forget about it.
Okay, how about, Mom, park the car at Harvard Yard.
That's Boston.
Okay.
Or you can talk like the Southern girls do down in the South in Virginia.
And that was the Glazov gang for this week. Join us next week. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the serious issues of our time. First, I would like to remind and announce to our viewers that I will be speaking at the Lux Hotel. There is an evening reception with Dr. Jamie Glazov, and it will be this Wednesday, May 15th at 7 p.m. at the Lux Hotel on 11461 Sunset Boulevard. And we're putting the announcement up on the screen. Please, everyone is welcome. You are welcome on May 15th. It would be great to have you there. Thank you. As events are unfolding, it's hard to keep up. Very depressing, everything that's happening. For the left in power in the media, the left in power in the White House. The ship is sinking in the United States. We continue the battle. Tonight, we have with us Michael Chandler, who calls himself a black American patriot. Michael, tell us a little bit about your background and what this term means to you and your identity and how you came to it. Why aren't you, as a member of the black community, as if that could fairly be said, why aren't you a fan and adorer of Barack Obama?
Because everything he stands for is in opposition to what I stand for. I view the Democrat Party as a culture, as a proponent of the culture of lies and death. They stand for abortion. They don't stand for American sovereignty. Those things are troublesome. They take hostile moves against the family. They take hostile views towards abortion or against life. You look at this thing with Gosnell, for example. That's the last, most recent link in a very long chain. Think of what's the Margaret Sanger at the very beginning of this line, where she was a proponent of abortion. Why? To control immigrants in general and blacks in particular. You look at the origination of the Ku Klux Klan after the Civil War. You look at the beginnings of the Civil War, who was in favor of maintaining slavery and secession from the United States. The whites of the Democrat Party in the Old South.
And it's very interesting that the left tries to brand racism as Republican, whereas Ann Coulter has done incredible work on that, showing
Abraham
that
Lincoln was the first Republican president. What did he and the Republicans stand for? They wanted to elevate and include black people in the foundation, the normalcy of America.
Now, Michael, we talked a little bit about, tell a little bit about where you're from, your background, and how you feel about immigrants in the country and some of your thoughts when you came to the United States of how you see issues connected to assimilation in terms of Hispanics, African Americans, etc., that this has a personal meaning to you as an immigrant.
I didn't come as an immigrant. I'm not an immigrant. I am a firstborn. I am a first generation. My father, my mother, and my wife all immigrated to the United States.
Okay, my bad. Okay, but as the child of immigrants, we corrected that. Proceed.
Well, I think in terms of allegiance, for one. As I looked through the eyes of my father, looked through the eyes of my wife, and when I was in the service, through the eyes of people who long to come to America, the people who are not from here revere the United States. They say, oh boy, if I can only go to the United States, I will have died and gone to heaven. But Americans, whether they're white or Hispanic, black or Asian, they don't have the same sort, many of them, I won't say all, of course, many of them don't have the same sort of allegiance or heartfelt, protective yearning for the well-being of America. They're indifferent.
They take it for granted.
Yeah, they take it for granted. Well, you can take nothing for granted. You can't even take it for granted that your car will start in the parking lot tonight.
Michael, as, again, a quote-unquote member of the African American community, or how you're regarded, have you been persecuted, ostracized, demonized, or dehumanized?
Oh, sure.
Talk a little bit about that, because it's very popular as a black American to be for Obama, and I think a lot of people are surprised when you're not of the left.
Well, in my working life, I was in the utility field. I was a lineman for AT&T, and I worked routinely in minority communities, I guess you would say. Compton, Watts, Maywood, that sort of thing. Large numbers of Hispanics, and many of them are immigrants, mostly illegal, but many who are not. It was amazing to me how indifferent so many of them were towards the well-being of the country they came to. They would sneak into here only to essentially flip us the bird. And, well, it doesn't make sense to me, because if you want to recreate here the culture you just escaped,
makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense at all. It's incoherent. No. But in addition to that, the people with whom I worked, being largely minorities also, they would defend these people, whether in a political sense or in a racial sense.
Yeah.
And so I would have fights on a constant basis, not fist fights, but I mean verbal jousting with my peers, because they would say, well, Mike, you're a minority. Why don't you see things the way we do? And I would say, I see things in terms of logic and reason and fairness and stability.
Yeah. And Michael, for instance, you know, I'm an immigrant, and I love this country. And where we escaped from, we consider this a divine experiment on earth. We don't want to see this country to be transformed as Barack Obama does. Before I move on to our other wise guests, what do you think made you have your views that are different from those kind of views that you collide with? What made you this way?
Many things. My parents were both religious, and they asserted to me that I have a responsibility to God first, family next, and myself last. So allegiance to God, allegiance to family, and allegiance to the society that has made things possible for me.
You know, Mike, I think there's, I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's something definitely there, because when there's faith in God, there's also individual responsibility. Yes. And we think of our own sins and transgressions. Whereas in the secular faith, when there's a rejection of God, there's more of a what should society do for me?
That's true.
And also that since there's no God, I might be God, so let me start building a perfect world. Whereas perfection can only come from on top.
On that note, several thoughts occur. One would be, how secular philosophies try to supplant or remove God and always assert that there can be the new man.
Right.
You look at the communists of Lenin and Marx and all those,
Yeah.
or the Nazis, they were all about trying to reconstruct a new man by subtracting, removing any sort of godly influence or admonition.
And in many respects, I think it could be fair to say that this is what Obama stands for and what he's doing. We are who we've been waiting for.
Homo Sovieticus.
Morgan and Borek, do you mind if I just continue speaking to Michael? We don't matter. We are now going to go to Morgan, Brittany, and your thoughts on a lot of these very vital themes that Michael has brought up.
Well, I totally agree with him. I think he's spot on with it. And the thing that I'm looking at where did this all start? Where did this begin? Because when people came through Ellis Island, they came here to assimilate, to be the best they could be, to grow. That, like you said, they had strong religious backgrounds, they had strong work ethic. I think what has happened, I was in the public school system out here in the San Fernando Valley. I grew up in the 50s and 60s. I noticed that as time went on, the educational system became more and more and more liberal, more and more. And now I see with my children how they have indoctrinated the youth, just like that's exactly who they go after.
Yeah.
And so they want to break down religion. They want to demonize you if you believe in God.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's actually the tactics of the communists in the Soviet Union to have done this, and they succeeded. But go ahead, I'm sorry that I interrupted.
That's what they're doing. And so they're getting to our young people who are now older.
Yes.
Now they're in their 20s and their 30s. And you see the result of this. You can see the result of where we're going, and we're heading down a path that is very destructive for this country.
Morgan, thank you for raising that, and especially the education system. Look, I remember when I was teaching in university, first and second year university students did not know who Stalin was. They did not even understand the evil of class hatred. They knew about Hitler, but they didn't know about Stalin, and they didn't know too much about it, because guess what the left is defending? But I would say what a tragedy and a crime that in our public schools, from the time people are young, they should be shown a video. And that video should show a whole bunch of people with wealth. And I know that this terrifies a lot of people that I'm saying it because of their ignorance. But there's a whole bunch of people with money, and one person begins to say, that's not fair, pointing to a poor person. And it should be said that potentially that is one of the most dangerous people on the planet. I'm not saying there shouldn't be generosity, but the implications of what that person's saying caused hundreds of millions of deaths.
We have. So it is so upside down. Look at the professors that we have that are former terrorists that are now teaching at Columbia University, who've had 20-year prison terms. This is who's in our schools
and
now.
One of them was a buddy of Barack Obama.
This is what I'm saying.
Ayers and
this is where the danger lies, and you're absolutely right with what you said.
Education system. I love being told that I'm right. And you have automatically earned another invitation back to the Glazov gang. Borek has been nobly and stoically silent for actually a record amount of time. Whoa! Are you okay? All right, Borek, your views on this, also as an immigrant, a canceled Czech whose wife is his Czechmate, an anti-communist who I have a feeling is not very pro-Sharia.
So well, first of all, I escaped from communism. And I left communism behind, right? I didn't bring it here.
That's right.
Okay. That's right. However,
but refer this a little bit to what Michael is saying about appreciating this society.
Here is what I say. First of all, about assimilation. When in Rome, do like the Romans do. For the minorities, behave like the majority, and you will become majority. You will be treated like majority, right? Let me tell you one very important thing.
I'll only buy part of that. Because you have to be responsible.
Right.
If the majority practices irresponsible conduct...
Wait, Michael, just wait.
No.
What are you saying? Wait 1 second. Michael, give us the counterpoint.
Just because the majority of the Romans, so to speak, conduct themselves as they do, what they do may not be admirable,
Okay.
should not be replicated or embraced
Right.
or continued.
Yeah.
You should do, you generic, you should do the responsible,
Okay.
ethical,
Because you could
honorable,
enter a
maintained
pathological
sort
culture.
Oh,
of
yeah, yeah,
thing.
but this is
You're-
about assimilation. you know,
Okay,
that's
you're
the citation.
implying if you're in a healthy, good culture like
Exactly.
the Western civilization.
Become majority.
Okay, we're almost out of time.
But
Please,
one
under a
more-
minute,
one-
please. Go
one
ahead.
more very important thing. You cannot become a Czech. You cannot become a Russian. You cannot become a French or Swede or German.
True.
But you can become American.
Yes.
And that's the greatness of this country.
That's exactly.
Right,
That's
but
right.
now we're in a climate where that's considered racism.
Yeah.
The expression of patriotism is considered bigotry, and Barack Obama being asked about American exceptionalism, actually answering, well, just
We're no
like
more
Britain is,
exceptional
yeah, I
than
mean, just
anybody else.
an incredible ignorance in terms of even what the term means. We are out of time for the second segment, but the last 20 seconds each, please. Final wise thoughts on this issue, Michael.
I support America all the way down the line. I want to see us grow and prosper. I want us to be strong like we used to be instead of spinning in a slow descent and spiraling towards a crash because others depend upon us. I might use the example of a backbone. America is the backbone of the world. If this backbone loses its strength, all the ribs that attach to it, like Australia or South Korea or the Philippines, they will be weakened also and will not be able to stand the pressure put on them by hostile forces.
The collapse of Western civilization happening right before our eyes. Briefly, Morgan?
Just be careful. The smartest person in the room is not always the best person to follow. That's happened many, many times in the world. So you have to be very careful when people say, oh, they're smart, they know everything.
Morgan, you're dead on. I remember William F. Buckley said if he wanted to find people to lead the country, he'd rather get the first 50 people in the phone book than intellectuals.
There you
Borek,
go.
under 10 seconds. 3 very wise words.
The smart enemy, but smooth, is much more dangerous than stupid but brutal one.
There should be a book of quotes by Borek Volarik.
That's my own.
That's what I'm saying.
good. That's
Join us
good.
tomorrow evening for our second segment of the Glazov Gang, where we talk about Pamela Geller being banned in Canada.